It's Thursday, November 23. In the headlines, states of public emergencies declared in several parishes. In business news, gas and diesel prices are down. Regionally, in Antigua, the OAS Permanent Council discusses climate change concerns. Internationally, Gaza hospitals under repeated attacks. In sports, Reggae Girlz are still at odds with the Jamaica Football Federation. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. States of public emergencies have been declared across the entire parishes of Hanover, St. James, St. Catherine, and Clarendon. In a media release on Thursday, the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, said, quote, "The cooperation of every Jamaican is essential. We must unite to ensure our nation's safety. These measures are temporary but critical in augmenting the efforts of our security forces, which have yielded significant results." End quote. The SOEs took effect at midnight and will remain in place for 14 days. The media release stated that, quote, "This crucial decision announced by Prime Minister Andrew Holness underscores the government's commitment to the safety and security of Jamaicans." End quote. Mr. Holness said the SOEs would enable the security forces to conduct targeted operations aimed at dismantling criminal networks and curbing murders. Meanwhile, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang urged the public to perceive these measures as a united stand against crime. A previous SOE, which was declared for St. James, expired Wednesday night. You should bear in mind that a state of emergency, also called a state of public emergency, is a period during which a government declares that a public emergency exists and is empowered to enforce actions and policies not normally permitted in order to gain control of the situation. When an SOE is called, the government grants the security forces temporary additional powers. These include powers of search of a person or building without a warrant, powers of arrest and detention for up to 7 days without a warrant, power to curtail operating hours of businesses. Advanced practice registered nurses will soon be given legislative rights to provide prescriptions. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says the Cabinet has given approval for the issuance of drafting instructions to the Chief Parliamentary Council for amendments to the Nurses and Midwives Act and the Pharmacy Act to accommodate the registration and licensure of APRNs. He was speaking in the House this week.
There are approximately 44 APRNs and 17 in mental health field. So you're looking at about 61 currently. So it's not a great number, but I do believe that this will pave the way for more. A lot of those involved have long wished for this day to come, and others have been discouraged because it was not the case.
APRNs encompass family nurse practitioners, mental health psychiatric nurse practitioners, and nurse anesthesists. Dr. Tufton notes that in some cases, these professionals have been advising patients about prescriptive drugs, and now it will be entrenched in law. He adds that appropriate protocols should be established.
And that those protocols are captured in legislation where breaches can be cited if necessary, hopefully not, and where guidance is very specific, predictable, and is scientifically proven to work. And let's be clear, as you have said, this is not only a Jamaica practice. There are many countries in the world where APRNs are able to do limited prescriptive rights. In our case, the effectiveness of our primary healthcare system, I think, will be bolstered by them being out there.
For his part, Opposition spokesman on health Dr. Morris Guy supports the proposed idea. He says it will help those APRNs who work with persons living with mental illnesses.
the level of mental concerns, for want of a better word, in the country now. The increased levels of depression, anxiety, and the other mental health diseases that is afflicting the nation now calls for a greater intervention. And I think that the fact that they have been given prescriptive rights now will help in terms of the treatment, which many of them do not get at the time when they require it and desire.
Nuclear energy is a form of energy released from the nucleus, the core of atoms. It's energy source that can be used to produce electricity and more. It's an area in scientific research that requires specialized knowledge, often spoken about with scientists from developed countries. However, here in Jamaica, we have one of our own, Dr. Charlene Smith. She is a nuclear engineer and a founder of Jamaica Nuclear Engineering Bootcamp 2023. And she is a past student of St. Catherine High School. We look to JIS for this two-part feature.
Initially, when I would have heard about nuclear, I just think pure evil. I kid you not, guys. Personally, I just think pure evil. And then I would have had a conversation with Dr. Smith, many conversations, and then I would have learned the beauty of nuclear engineering and what nuclear power can do to this world. So I'm learning from my former student.
Nuclear fission is the splitting of atoms to release energy from a mass, and that goes back to Einstein's equations of E is equal to mc squared.
Just the fact that she attended this school, that plays a big role in them being able to see how feasible an opportunity like this is for them.
I'm so proud of her.
Mr. Johnson. The fact that we are able to have this program with the first person from Jamaica to ever get a PhD in nuclear engineering is truly remarkable and out of this world.
When you put the control rods in the reactor, what's happening? It's absorbing the neutrons, right?
It's not something they saw on TV. This is somebody who is from their own environment.
So answer me now this. Is nuclear energy safe?
When you got told you were going to a nuclear boot camp, what did you expect?
Firstly, the first thing came to mind was nuclear power plants. Well, mostly nuclear bombs, but
bombs. Nuclear had something to do with atoms to me, honestly.
I think a nuclear engineer create bombs.
When nuclear waste is buried, they have people who dig it up and use it for wrong reasons, like to create nuclear weapons.
Nuclear waste is currently not stored anywhere underground. So where you get that information from? They're saying something, and you're confident about saying it, make sure so you have something to back it up. Or else we are feeding into those misconceptions and the spreading of misinformation. You're looking at the death rates per electricity production for different energy sources. Brown coal, oil, biomass. I remember we talked about biomass. What is biomass?
Burning of wood.
The burning of wood. All right. What comes next? Gas. And hydropower. And nuclear is where? Down here with wind and solar.
Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
Motorists will pay less for gas and diesel when they go to the pumps on Thursday. State-owned oil refinery PetroJam says with both grades of gasoline down by $3.06, E1087 will sell for $171.10 per liter, and a liter of E1090 will sell for $177.21. Automotive diesel oil down by $1.58 per liter will sell for $178.15. Ultra low sulfur diesel will sell for $185.54 per liter, following a decrease of $3.06. The price of kerosene, down by $4.50, will sell for $190.03. In the meantime, propane cooking gas, up by $2.58, will sell for $69.71, while butane, moved up by $2.56, will sell for $78.01 per liter. Remember that retailers will add their markups to the announced prices. According to estimates from the Planning Institute of Jamaica (PIOJ), the Jamaican economy registered a growth of 1.9% for the quarter ending in September this year compared to the same quarter in 2022. Speaking at the PIOJ's quarterly press briefing on Tuesday, PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry gave a breakdown of factors that contributed to the growth.
The estimated outturn for the review quarter largely reflected the impact of 1. Higher levels of employment, which supported the growth in demand. 2. Increased capacity utilization in the mining and quarrying industry. And 3. Continued growth momentum in the tourism sector, as reflected in the improved performances of the hotels and restaurants, other services, transport, storage and communication, and the manufacturing industries.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, November 22, the US dollar sold for an average of $156.16. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $114.55. The pound sterling traded for $196.10, and the euro sold for $173.32. In GSE trading, the GSE index declined by over 2,490 points. The junior market index declined by over 59 points. The combined market index declined by over 2,854 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by over 1,682 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 100 stocks, of which 31 advanced, 52 declined, and 17 traded firm. Stocks advanced for A.S. Bryden and Sons Holdings Limited, Caribbean Cement Company Limited, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Trading firm were Cargo Handlers Limited, Apple Limited, and Apple Limited 7.25% preference shares. The overall volume leaders were Caribbean Producers Jamaica Limited with over 36 million units, Grace Kennedy Limited with over 9 million units, and Millpack Group Limited with over 2 million units. In regional stocks in Trinidad and Tobago, Calypso Macro Index Fund was the only active security posting a volume of 14 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, 0 securities traded. In regional business, Caribbean Airlines Limited is exploring areas of strategic collaboration with Saudi Arabia. Here are the details.
In a media release on Monday, the airline made the announcement with CAL's chairman Ronnie Mohammed saying this alliance is being organized through Saudi Arabia's air connectivity program. Mr. Mohammed was included in Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's delegation to Saudi Arabia last week, where he engaged in high-level discussions with ACP's Vice President of Commercial, Rashid Al-Shamir. The aim of the ACP program is to boost tourism growth in Saudi Arabia by improving air connectivity through the development of existing and potential air routes. The release highlighted the alignment of these discussions with CAL's 2023 to 2027 strategic plan goals, where network growth is a key pillar.
In international business, U.S. stocks ended higher ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday on optimism that the Federal Reserve may be done raising interest rates and that the economy has remained strong.
All 3 major indexes were on pace for their best month of the year. The Dow added 0.5%, while the S&P 500 and NASDAQ each added more than 0.4%.
I think it's certainly too soon to tell whether we've entered a new bull market.
Adam Reinert, Chief Investment Officer and Chief Operating Officer at Marshall Financial Group, says that while stocks have risen sharply in recent weeks on optimism the Federal Reserve is done raising interest rates, investors will shift their focus to how those rate hikes are affecting the consumer.
ultimately, it seems like the market may be transitioning from a market that was focused on the Federal Reserve and the path of monetary policy to one focused on the consumer. We received some jobs data today. It came in a little better than the market had expected. But as we transition from that Fed market to the consumer market going forward, that could really dictate the path of the market and the path of the economy as well.
The stock market will be closed for Thanksgiving on Thursday and close early on Friday.
In market data for oil prices dipped about 1% on Thursday. Brent crude futures were down 90 cents at $81.06 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude slipped 86 cents to $76.24. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, there are fresh concerns about the perils of climate change for small island states such as Antigua and Barbuda. Calls are being made for collaboration to address this challenge. The Permanent Council of the Organization of American States held a special meeting on the issue this week, chaired by Antigua and Barbuda's top diplomat in Washington, Sir Ronald Saunders. Theresa Goodwin reports.
Addressing the challenges of climate change collaboratively could enhance global discourse and prompt tangible action. Chair of the Organization of American States Permanent Council, Sir Ronald Saunders, made that assertion during a special meeting of the OAS's Permanent Council on Tuesday.
Could a united stance make a difference? Have we fully explored the power of collective responsibility and action? Are we, as a hemisphere, neglecting our duty not only to our own people, but to the global community that might benefit from our concentrated efforts?
Sir Ronald also notes that the region is struggling in its efforts to combat climate change, and major polluting nations are slow to reduce hazardous emissions.
We now find ourselves perilously close to the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, a line the world cannot afford to cross. But to maintain that target, an ambitious reduction of 22 billion tons of CO2 is required by 2030.
He also emphasizes that commitments and pledges to the Green Climate Fund have been repeatedly made but consistently broken.
The biggest victims are the smallest countries, whose very existence is now acutely threatened. The irony is stark. The least contributors suffer the gravest consequences.
Delegations from Antigua and Barbuda and other small island developing states are preparing for the 28th summit of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or COP28. The summit will take place in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, within weeks. Theresa Goodwin, ABS News.
As Guyana awaits a decision from the International Court of Justice, ICJ, on Venezuela's upcoming referendum about the Essequibo region, Attorney General Anil Nandal, SC, has assured Guyanese that the court can't enforce its rulings. The Attorney General addressed the ongoing controversy and Venezuela's planned referendum during his Issues in the News Facebook Live on Tuesday night.
The enforcement arm of the court is the United Nations Security Council. Any court, even magistrates' court or municipal courts, have a power to enforce their orders. It is that coercive power that keeps the majesty of the court intact. It is the capacity to enforce its orders that demands veneration and respect from any court of law. Or else, if a court grants orders that it is incapable of enforcing, then that court will lose its awe. It will lose the respect that it deserves. It will lose its majesty as an important law enforcement institution. And it will become a rubber stamp. I can't imagine that the International Court of Justice, which is the pinnacle and the very summit of the international legal structure, will be a court that is unable to enforce its own orders. Quite apart from that, of course, we have our own national capabilities, and in addition to that, we have secured the assistance and we have secured the support of the entire hemisphere.
Barbados has taken another step to ensure it complies with the demands of a Financial Action Task Force. The island's Anti-Money Laundering Authority has launched a website to help ensure businesses conform to required standards. Trevor Thorpe reports.
The Anti-Money Laundering Authority's Compliance Unit has been set up to provide information and resources to assist in structuring businesses to meet minimum standards. The Attorney General admits there may be missteps, but he has called on the business sector to accept the entity.
The work of the Compliance Unit is invaluable. It is a new unit. We are going to, and I say we're going to make a few missteps along the way, but never with malice, and always from the perspective of trying to improve our work and improve our relationship with you.
Chief Compliance Officer Shari Squires says the website has been constructed in 2 phases.
This website is in a 2-phase approach. This is the first phase that we are launching today. The second phase will be a portal where we're going to have the DNFBPs, which is the designated non-financial businesses and professionals. We're going to have a portal where you can log in, you will to register with the Compliance Unit. Any information that we need you to submit, you will upload it using the website.
Ms. Squires has revealed more details about the site, which was created during the COVID-19 pandemic.
We have the About Us section, so this gives us a whole background in terms of who we are as a compliance unit, when we were created, why we were created, and we have information about our vision, mission, philosophy. All of that is there. We have about our board, which is the Anti-Money Laundering Authority, and this is the supervisory board, and you will just see a breakdown of the members of who actually sit on the board in terms of representatives from other government agencies, and then there are 4 independent directors on our board.
The Anti-Money Laundering Authority's Compliance Unit also offers on-site and off-site monitoring services. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
In international news, a senior Israeli official has said hostages being held in Gaza won't be freed before Friday. A pause in fighting was expected to begin on Thursday, but an Israeli government source said it has also been delayed. And as the war in Gaza continues, so does the attacks on their medical facilities. The largest medical hospital in the Gaza Strip has run out of service after being raided by the Israel army, and an evacuation order has been placed on the Indonesian hospital. Al Jazeera has more.
Both hospitals are witnessing a very serious and even critical situation as the Israeli troops are still encircling and even impose a significant control over the vicinity of the main 2 hospitals. We're talking about the Indonesian hospital and the Shifa hospital, starting first with the Indonesian hospital, which has been informed by the occupation forces for the second time to evacuate the buildings from the patients, medical workers, and even from the displaced people inside in order to be later controlled by the Israeli forces. Now, the majority of doctors and displaced people are still inside this medical complex, as they had been subjected previously to separate Israeli airstrikes which claimed the lives of 12 Palestinians, and the number of medical workers have been also injured due to these relentless attacks. Also, they have multiply been subjected to Israeli fires by the Israeli soldiers on the ground. Now, this hospital, considered to be the main central hospital that is still operating in the north of the Gaza Strip, alongside with another 2 central hospitals. And what is really strange this time is that the arrest of doctors, as Dr. Muhammad Abu Salmiya, the director of the Shifa Medical Complex, has been arrested arrested by the Israeli occupation forces, and even today's earlier, 2 Palestinian bar medics have been also arrested by the Israeli occupation forces, and this gives a clear sign that there is no any impunity inside the Gaza Strip, neither for medical workers, civil defense crews, and even journalists, as the attacks had reached all classes in the Palestinian community. Meanwhile, the Shifa hospital has been also under the Israeli control for more than 1 week, and the situation there is completely dire, as Israel is still even recommending patients and even displaced people to flee to the south of the territory, as also the attacks on the south did not stop during the last 24 hours, which claimed the lives of around 200 Palestinians only in the last 24 hours.
In sports, the Reggae Girlz are still at odds with the Jamaica Football Federation. The girls reportedly met with representatives from the JFF to resolve the issues between them, but it ended without a resolution. According to the Jamaica Observer, as a result, those members that took Jamaica to historic heights at the FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand by qualifying for the round of 16 were not selected to the Reggae Girlz squad to face Panama in the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup qualifying games against Panama on Wednesday at the National Stadium and on December 3 in Guatemala. Grenada prepares to host one of the biggest sporting events on the athletic calendar, the 51st Caribbean Free Trade Area Games, Carifta Games 2024.
In less than 160 days, the 51st Carifta Games will run off on Grenadian soil at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Speaking at the launch was Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Culture with responsibility for youth, culture and sports, Ron Redhead, said it is an honor for Grenada to be hosting Carifta 2024. At the same time, the country will be observing its 50th anniversary of independence.
Today we are pleased to launch another hosting of the Carifta Games on our beautiful island of Grenada. Carifta 2024 pledges to be a spectacular event as the world observes the talents and youthful vigor of our Caribbean athletes on the international stage. The Games in its history have long been a hotbed for some of the Caribbean's most iconic athletes, including Usain Bolt, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, and our very own Kirani James and Aline Francie, just to name a few. It is therefore an honor for Grenada to host, particularly next year, as we celebrate our 50th independence anniversary and look forward to making next year's Games an unforgettable experience of celebration of Caribbean talent, culture, and the spirit of camaraderie as we extend a very warm Grenadian welcome to athletes, coaches, and sports enthusiasts from across the Caribbean as Grenada becomes the center and focus in the region for track and field in 2024.
Chairperson of the local organizing committee, Ms. Vida Bruno Victor, indicated that preparations and training for the track and field officials are well on its way towards giving visitors an unforgettable experience.
We're fortunate to have members of our 2016 committee back on board with us to lead the challenge, and they are strongly supported by a group of hardworking, energetic, and talented individuals, young individuals. These subcommittees have been holding regular meetings, organizing their budgets, preparing action plans, and in some areas, training has started. In this regard, we are pleased to let you know that the first set of training for track and field official has started.
Tickets can now be accessed online for the Games.
Immediately following this morning's launch, tickets for the Games will go on sale online and locally. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, I am very pleased to inform you that the government has appointed a national organizing committee to assist with the proper execution of the Games, especially in the areas that government needs government input.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. And do remember, we are the People's Station.